Hi everyone and welcome to the channel. This is one of those videos where I'm not going to keep you too long, but I kind of want to get some feedback from people because I'm starting to wonder if the ball python hobby is dead. Obviously I shouldn't really say that, I know the hobby's not dead, but it's going through a time right now which isn't great, and one of the things that I think is perhaps changing the scene is, obviously the inflation crisis has changed it, and here in the UK, people don't have a lot of money in their pockets. But another thing that's kind of changing the scene is the auctions on Morphmarket. So I wanted to hear what people thought about this. So my experience in the last few years is that prices have been going up. Prices of snakes have been going down. If you're very smart, you're going to be keeping your best holdbacks for the next year or two for when the economy kind of rebounds, hopefully, maybe. And then produce some really good stuff to sell at that point. But right now, everyone knows that it's hard to shift their snakes unless they're a big personality and they've got lots of subscribers on YouTube and lots of, a good social media following. Like some guys here in the UK have really big social media followings, and they've obviously put in more work than me, but they produce more snakes and they produce some high-end projects, and they kind of do okay all the time. But for the rest of us who it's just a little hobby, it is getting a lot harder to shift snakes if you don't have that following. The people that can still shift them, I say good for them, carry on. But for smaller breeders, just part-time guys like me, I can't really shift them as easily anymore. I think I've sold, last year I had 28 babies. Well, let's say 13 months ago I had 28 babies, and I think I've got 4 of those babies left. Whereas a few years ago, I could have got rid of all of them. And that is, that's often how it goes with animals. They don't sell like hotcakes. But the prices are lower anyway, and I've sold some of those cheap, and I've auctioned some of them. And the auction thing on Morphmarket is interesting. So first of all, I'm not criticizing Morphmarket in any way, shape or form, because I wouldn't have sold half the snakes I have without them. But what's interesting is recently I sold a couple snakes on an auction on Morphmarket, or a couple auctions obviously. And the guy who bought them from me turned around and sold them to another guy locally who is now selling them at a much higher price, which is kind of interesting because he's not going to get the price for them. But there are people coming out of the woodwork, and it's kind of an odd thing to do. A lot of breeders don't like people doing that, just buying up snakes and selling them on. Particularly as in the UK here, it is technically against the law. And you just don't want to be involved with anyone that does anything like that. But this is an issue that comes out when prices are low and people like me are running out of room, and you try and get rid of stuff quickly through an auction, and everyone does it. All the breeders use auctions, and somebody goes around doing stuff like that. It's coming out of the woodwork a lot more. But also the auctions, one thing I've noticed is that, well, one thing I'm speculating on is that when an economic crisis hits, or the hobby gets a bit saturated, or whatever happens, like the inflation crisis, people run out of room or whatever, and they start putting stuff on the auctions, and they go cheap on auctions, right? So when there is a bit of a sticking point in the market and things get tough for people, or people are spending less, are the auctions acting like a plug, like a hole that can simply open up and just allow the price to completely drop through the floor, like water running out of a bath? Is that just a way for the prices to just drop through the floor? That is my question. Obviously it's good, the auctions, if you want to get rid of some snakes and you are running out of room and it's expensive, and the proverbial has kind of hit the fan for you, like it has for a lot of people, especially here in the UK and the US presumably. But are the auctions a double-edged sword? Are they a way that just lets prices just drop? And is the only person who benefits, or the only people who benefit, Morphmarket? Or buyers, I guess. Hobby buyers, they can get some really good deals. But it does seem that we are coming to this point where the only people who are ever making decent money are people who run a service or sell products. And that's an interesting thing to think about. So, I know this is kind of another one of these kind of negative videos, but I hope that the ball python hobby isn't really dead. I'm sure it isn't, But it is always worth thinking about the effect that stuff like auctions has and different economic circumstances. So please do comment, give me your feedback. I'd like to start a conversation about this and see what people actually think out there and see how people feel about breeding or, doing small projects like I do. So anyway, please do like, subscribe, and get back to me, and I'll do another video in a week or so. Thank you very much.